This is just a quick video to explain prediction marker. So prediction marker is basically an impedance ratio of 200 kilohertz over 5 kilohertz, which equates to total body water over extracellular water. So at 200 kilohertz, the current is quite strong, so the resistance is much lower. So for an example, just to show you how the figures work, the resistance can be 500 ohms at 200 kilohertz. Over at 5 kilohertz, where the resistance is quite high because the current is quite low at 5, the impedance will be 700, for example. So 500 over 700 is quite a healthy impedance ratio for those at those frequencies. So for example, we'll come to 0.710, which is a healthy prediction marker. So in the cases of lymphedema, an early warning indicator for lymphedema will show an impedance ratio at 200 kilohertz, for example, around 600 ohms, over 700 ohms. So the difference between the 5 kilohertz and the 200 kilohertz is less, which means actually the water is seeping out of the cells. So normally the extracellular water and the intracellular water, there's quite a difference, or the total body water and the extracellular water, there's quite a difference between those two values because the cell is able to hold on to the intracellular water because the cell is healthy, it's doing its job. But in signs of illness or early signs of lymphedema, where the cell is actually not able to hold on to that intracellular water, there's cell leakage, this extracellular water is increasing, that the difference between the extracellular water and the intracellular water is much less because the cell is unable to hold on to that intracellular water. So you can see the cell membrane breaking down here and the water is excreting out of the cell. So at the start of illness, when that impedance value is much higher than what it should be, it means that the cell is unable to hold on to that intracellular water and water fluid is excreting out into the extracellular fluid space. So that, just to show you the figures, that will give you a ratio of a much higher value, closer to 1. So 0.85 for that person. That means it's an early warning sign of lymphedema. So that figure will become apparent, that figure will show up before any signs of lymphedema is apparent on the physical manifestation of the body, before any pitting or edema is visibly seen or manifest. So it's a good indicator to monitor for patients who are likely to suffer from lymphedema. So for when that patient becomes more, when it does become apparent that they do have lymphedema, that ratio will actually increase. So for example, the 650 ohms at 200 kilohertz over 700 is 0.920. which actually is a serious case. So when that prediction marker is above 0.9, then that's a serious case and a case to be monitoring quite acutely. The figures actually mean, so at 200 kilohertz, that's your total body water. The difference between the total body water and your extracellular water is very little. So the maths work out between those two figures, the resistance at those frequencies, the resistance is very little, which means the cell membranes are not creating a resistance as they did in the healthy cells, in the healthy person. So that means that the cell is not able to hold on to the intracellular water, it's seeping out, all the intracellular fluids are seeping out into the extracellular space, creating the lymphedema and the pitting, so creating a problem. So in this diagram, all the cells, the cell membranes degrading and the water is escaping. So the difference between the extracellular space and the intracellular space is pretty much the same, which is a serious case and one to monitor. So I hope this explains, or hope this helps to explain a bit more about how the prediction marker works.